Welcome to ICAST News, live and direct from the United Nations headquarters in New York City. This is Heat in the Middle East. I'm your host, Ahmed FATHI. With me today is an Egyptian political activist, revolutionary, industrialist, and university professor, Dr. Mamdouh Hamza. Welcome, Dr. Hamza.
Welcome, Mr. Ahmed FATHI.
Tell me, why are you here today in New York?
I'm coming to visit my daughter.
That's a good enough reason, but
yes.
What else?
Just to see my daughter, and in the same time, I wonder if we can expose or show a video, a film, a short documentary we did about the latest happenings in Egypt, specifically the mentality behind the event. It's not important the event in its own right. It's not important the violence of Muslim brothers. What's more important is the mentality. Lately, we hear some of the Egyptian politicians saying, oh, Muslim brothers who don't get their hands stained in blood, they could come back in political life. But he forgot that the mind could also be stained with black thinking.
Let me interject here. In every revolution, and we have South Africa as the flagship in reconciliation, right after many, many years of apartheid policies in South Africa, Nelson Mandela came and we said it's about time to start a reconciliation. And they have actually put a system and a process to it. Why doesn't Egypt can benefit from the South Africa experience into establishing a reconciliation process, as long as they have not stained their hands in blood? What's your take on that?
Those who are inciting violence and terrorism, those who have stood in Rabaa in the stage, calling their colleagues to go and shoot in the middle of the head of Egyptians, or to put Egypt on fire, you cannot have a reconciliation with them. They have closed mind. Those has been tried by law, according to law.
What about other members in the Muslim Brotherhood who have not made inflammatory statements, who have not taken any acts of violence or encouraged acts of violence? What's the situation with these Egyptian citizens?
The most important thing that themselves have to come in peace with themselves. They have to have a peaceful mind, not an aggressive mind. And if they join back the society, welcome. We need every hand to build our society. But they cannot join the society with an aggressive, violent, bloody mind. This has to change first. How to make sure that this mind will change? It's a very long process, and it has to go through tests. Because if you know, Muslim Brothers started 80 some years ago.
Yeah.
And if you recall history, the Prime Minister of Egypt, Nourashi Pasha, received a report from his Minister of Interiors about the crimes committed by the Muslim Brothers at that era. It has been in a decree in the official newspaper Al-Waqa'a, published 8th of December 1948. If you read it today, you think, and you hide the date, you think it's written for nowadays. So the same mentality remained from that time to now. So the most important thing is not stained hand. what's important is to make sure that the mentality must change for reconciliation to happen.
What is the time frame you're anticipating for that process to be completed?
It depends. Are they willing?
We have seen in the past
If they are
few
willing.
days some statements and recorded video messages from some of the leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood claiming that they have never been involved in any acts of violence. They have never enticed others to commit any violent actions. Counter the other video recordings we have seen from Rabaa Square in Cairo, that one of their leaders, for example, Dr. Biltagi, he was openly calling for violent actions. And we have seen yesterday through Al Jazeera channel of Qatar that he is now broadcasting a message. He says that I'm a man of peace and I haven't done anything.
Because he's a liar. I mean,
anyway.
No, it's very important. They are recorded to be liars, all their history. It's not important what they say. What's important what they do. And when you are captured by the police for inciting violence, and you start to change your opinion, not in order to get less sentence or something like that, you cannot call it. No, this is not the dangerous part.
What is the dangerous part?
The dangerous part that some other people who are not, they claim they are not now Muslim brother, they left the brotherhood, or they have been kicked out from the brotherhood. Something like Dr. Al-Hilbawi, who I respect, somebody like Mr. Nuh, who used to be the lawyer of the Muslim brothers, somebody like Mr. Al-Khirbawi, who lived them, which I have great respect for.
What about Dr.
Somebody
Abu
like Saif
Futuh?
like Abu Futuh, I'm coming, like Saif al-Fattah. Those, the danger could come from those. Why? Because they have been portraying a very peaceful. They never attacked the doctrine and the culture of the Muslim brotherhood. They only attacked in the media the leadership of the brotherhood at that time, Badia, Shatir. The danger comes that they might bring the brotherhood again under a different leadership, and then in a few years' time, we find another Rabaa and another Nahda with different faces, inciting violence and blood. The problem with the Muslim Brotherhood is not the people. It is the doctrine, it is their culture, it is their writings and their history. They killed Urashi Pasha, Prime Minister of Egypt. They killed Al-Khazindar, who tried them, a judge. They tried to kill Nasser. They tried to kill Naguib Mahfouz, the Nobel Prize laureate.
Yeah.
They tried to, they killed Farag Foda,
Yes.
an important, a beautiful mind.
A very well-known Egyptian intellectual with liberal
And also-
mindset, and he have actually warned about the escalation
Of
the
course.
development of situation between the military forces, or the, as he described it back then, military fascism versus religious fascism.
And then he said the worst thing is one who is in a military uniform and a religious hat. I remember very
That's
well.
probably
He
fits
said the worst.
one of the states
But-
in the region.
But also, if you remember, he was also an Islamic philosopher. They killed him. They killed Rifat al-Mahbub.
the parliament speaker.
Who killed them? They're
And
Muslim
Sadat
brothers.
also was killed by
I'm
Islam
coming to this is
fundamentalists.
the big shot. I mean, I want to leave it till the end. They killed President Sadat, who freed them from prison, as you know, within his army, and he was the messenger of peace in the Middle East. They killed Sadat, who freed them, and he was a messenger of peace. They call him the hero of peace. He tried to make peace in the Middle East in his way. And then they killed the poor, innocent tourists who came to Egypt, to Luxor,
in the 90s.
to enjoy our
yes.
monument in 97. So this is a history belong to Muslim Brotherhood.
Most certainly, I mean, we can spend days debating their or reciting their history, and with bloodshed, with troubles, with violence in the streets.
Do you want to make
terrorism against tourists?
Can you do reconciliation with this? In South Africa, it was apartheid. It was not killing.
No,
There was no blood in South Africa because you use South Africa as an example, which is good. And I like the way Mandela dealt when he came out of prison, and even I use that in my writing when we started the January revolution. But it's a completely different case. Apartheid is something, and criminal killing is something else.
Let me jump quickly to another point. Being a civil engineer and a professor at the university, and also an author of several books on areas of development, what's the future of Egypt and the Egyptian economy, which is, everybody knows that it's the biggest problem and hurdle facing the Egyptian government and the Egyptian people?
The problem is production. And Egyptian people have to agree what sort of economy we have to follow. The type of economy followed during during Sadat have made the gap between the poor and rich wider every year, wider and wider, have concentrated the wealth of the nation in few hands who are near the authority. This type of economy can't work anymore. The unlimited open door economy can't work anymore. We have to agree in certain fundamentals. Did we make a revolution for social justice or not? We did.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most important requirements. This should be the controlling factor in the coming economy for people to settle in order to be able to produce. Production is the name of the game.
So you are advocating that Egypt shifts back to a socialist economic model?
No, not at all. No.
So we had a socialist model in the 60s.
I'm talking about the social model.
We had the open door economic policy, or later, as it turned to be through Sadat and Mubarak era, as a crony capitalist system.
Yes.
What kind of economic direction Egypt should take?
Well, number one, that it is the state who should have the vision, not the actual work, vision of the project and the development needed for Egypt. Should be planned by Egyptian social expert, economical expert, financial expert, and development expert. So the plan of development of Egypt must be based on the state requirement. Then you have to fill in by private sector or public sector or state as it fits. The private sector should given the chance to fill in as much as it can. But as you know, private sector will always be limited. I don't think there is a private sector who will go and make a new highway between Alexandria and Aswan.
But they can actually do that and collect tolls from going on this highway, and these tolls is the return on the investment they have.
Cannot do that. Why? Foreign investment should invest in project in which the income is from foreign currency, like ports, airports, factories to export, fine. But roads to collect Egyptian pounds from Egyptians in the highways. So as the foreign company at the end of the year wants to transfer their profit abroad and change the Egyptian pounds from the Egyptian into dollars to transfer it, that will hurt the economy. So private sector work in Egypt must be limited only to projects which yield foreign currency, and or at least to the amount which can allow them to transfer their profit abroad. I'm talking now the type, you asked me about the type of economy I would like to see.
Let me just, before we move into that, what about the national capitalism? What about the local investors?
This one, they cannot.
Why not?
Because we haven't got really what I call really businessmen in the terms in Europe and America. No. We have people who have been grown up in the lap of the authority, giving loans from banks without guarantees and collaterals, giving land in a symbolic or peanuts money,
Nominal fee.
nominal fee, giving concession for factories because they are close to the authority. They haven't been trained for competitiveness. They are.
Very interesting point you
They
bring.
are. The only one I know
Competitiveness.
Yes.
Egypt ranking on the index of competitiveness.
180 something.
Exactly.
Yes. Now, we were 90 in 2003. We are now worse. Now, what happened is, I don't know of an Egyptian businessman who managed to do work abroad except 3 or 4. Maybe Sweden for cables, and maybe Oriental weavers who worked in China and America and Atlanta and also in Brussels. Because most of other Egyptian businessmen, they can make money and success because they are fostered by the state. That's why we don't have the businessman who have a vision and he can take risk and competitive. That's why I cannot rely on them to build, say, a highway or a large railway scheme or a factory like that built by Nasser of iron and steel, or the aluminium factory in Nagi Hammadi, you know. That's why the government, the state, should do the planning and tell the private sector who can do that. But if the private sector does not jump in, and there must be some work for Egyptian private sector and some work for foreign
Private sector.
and I put a condition. Foreign private sector must not come in the end of the year, change Egyptian pounds into dollars.
So why he should come and invest in your country
Because
if
he
he cannot get his money out?
I'm saying he can get his money out if his income is foreign currency, like ports. He can build ports.
So you're limiting the foreign investments that you want to attract into a lucrative business like ports, airports, free zone
Factories.
free zones.
No, factories to export.
And what about the magnitude
But the
or
point
the
is-
attractiveness of the size of the Egyptian market? 85 million consumers.
Well,
They still have to consume. You're just
maybe after 10, 15 years, things could change. But now, with the current rate of exchange, with the low reserve, with the huge debts, local and foreign, we cannot give a foreign investor a project in which in the end of the year he will ask, like, you know, how much the mobile companies exchange every year Egyptian pounds into dollar and export it outside the country. We cannot afford that. I think this is simple economics. Maybe later on, when things are changed, we can allow all type of investment. But for a limited amount of time, foreign investment should only work in project in which the project yield foreign currency. Factory to export, like Leone. We have a very good example of the best foreign investment in Egypt. Leone is a British company. They come to Egypt, they built, I think till now, 3 factories, all very successful and making tremendous profit. They built the electrical cables and wiring for all cars in Britain, nearly for all cars in Britain. And they exported to Britain.
interesting.
But we can, in line with this type of project, this is where because you can have land nearly for free in Egypt. You can have labor force, only a little bit of training will be very good, as long as they get good salary. And then you have very good environment. And then you have tremendous good port facilities. There is attraction for foreign investor, but I am against foreign investor in real estate for housing. We don't need it. It doesn't add anything to the country.
This is an interesting concept, and I think we should have a special program to discuss only economics.
You started that fiction.
I know.
And that is my closest to my heart. So that's why
Let
I
me
expanded.
jump into the international sphere. What about the Egypt-US relationships and Egypt-EU relationship and Egypt and the Gulf states relationship? Egypt enjoyed a very successful partnership and strategic alliance with the United States of
No,
America.
no, I disagree with you.
Why you disagree?
I
What's
tell
your reason?
Egypt have not realized any type of success while in good friendship with America. In the country, we have realized the best successes in our recent history when we were in difference or even in different ways with America. We have nationalized the Suez Canal. We were not friends with America. We have equipped the Egyptian army after the Nasser revolution and equipped for the 73 war, and we were not friendly with America. We have built Aswan High Dam. We were actually enemies at that time. We have built factories like the steel and iron factories and the Naga Hammadi aluminium factory. Most of that type of work, which all the public sector factory which we sold now, we were not in good friendship with America. But when we came to be in friendship with America, since Sadat made his biggest mistake and said America carries the 99% of the cars, since that time we are going downwards. So I don't agree with you. Give me one success Egypt had while she are with relation with America.
Let me disagree with you in here. I was born in Egypt, born in the middle 60s, lived through the 70s as a child, seen how the situation was, how the roads used to be, how the telephone network used to be. We used to spend hours trying to get a dialing tone just to dial a phone number in a couple of streets down. I have seen how the
what's America to do with that?
What's America to do with that started in the 80s, that started right after the signing of the Camp David Accords or the peace accord with Israel. This have had to create
no. This is a peanuts. No. Completely mistaken. You are talking absolutely wrong. The amount of money given to Egypt is $1 billion a year.
Used to be 2.1 billion.
No. That's the military is something different, because that's something to do with the Camp David agreement. Most money is not a loan, it's not a gift. It is the legal right of Egypt, their legal right to substitute them for the agonies and the costs they had to live with it for the 67 and 73 war. The amount of this cannot do anything. If you look how much we spend money on only sewage of Cairo, the sewage of Cairo, equal to all money we obtained as a loan for civil loan from America multiplied by 3, only one item. So this loan from America is peanuts.
I'm not speaking about loan, I'm speaking about aid.
I'm talking about the aid. All aids from America are peanuts. Look at just one highway in Egypt.
You're speaking with the prices of
No. I'm talking.
Back in 1980 and 1981, $800 million could do much more than
nothing. At
today.
that time we built. At that time we did the sewage network of Cairo, 6 times that amount. So this money did nothing to Egypt. Nothing.
What about the opinion?
It increased corruption. Most of this money was not for goods. It was for technical assistance and salaries paid to the America. And the price of, I give you a good example, Cairo sewage plant contract 23 was given to American company called Fuller. The company refrained from doing the project because the legal advisor told them, if you work in this ground, putting sewage under this building, which was not built according to codes, building will collapse and you will be sued. So the American said, Egyptian will do this project and we will pay for it. But American companies will not do it. Then it was standard. and I was the engineer of this project when it became to be in the Egyptian hands. When we tendered it to Egyptian companies to do the same job exactly with the same document, it was 22% of the cost of the American. So the money we supposed to have got from America, it went back to America. Not one single dollar came to Egypt. We have it in terms of goods and services, extremely and highly priced. We got nothing from America. We got a big lie from America.
What about the European Union and their decision
The
last
same.
week to block the sale or the licenses to export Egyptian arms to the Egyptian government?
We don't have much arm from Europe anyway.
Most of the police force depend on European suppliers.
This is a point which I'm not expert on. I cannot really discuss that. But if you cannot buy from X, you can buy from Y. And if the government will ask me to solve the problem, even me, who is an engineer, I can solve it tomorrow. I go to get from Brazil, I'm going to go from Russia, I'm going to go from China, I get from Czechoslovakia, so what? I get from Iran. I mean, there's no problem.
Saudi Arabia, when the June 30th uprising took place, came out of its way, pledged billions of dollars in support to the Egyptian government, and later came to supplement it or to double the amount. Now the Saudi economic aid package reached to $10 billion.
I don't know. My latest information that the whole Gulf state $12 billion.
Then Saudi Arabia came and added $5 billion to this package.
They know what they are doing.
How do you see that in relationship to the Saudi government position in Syria?
This you cannot reconcile, or they cannot put 1 + 1 doesn't come to 2 in this condition. Because when they support Egypt, they know that this is against the Brotherhood. When they are against Syria, it is with the Brotherhood, because the other side in Syria, not only the Brotherhood, the Jama'at, the Takfiri, the Jihadi, the whole assortment, the cocktail,
all the Islamist
all the
extremist
cocktail
groups. Yeah.
of the Islamists, if you would like to call it. So the only explanation I have that Egypt is very, very important to Saudi Arabia. It is just the other side. And many Egyptians working in Saudi, maybe 2.5 million people. And if Egypt falls in the hand of Muslim brothers, that will pose a direct threat to the Saudi stability and to the crown. That's why Egypt is much more important to Saudi than Syria. Syria is far, and it seemed to be there is something historic between the two states. I am happy with the Saudi support to Egypt, and extremely unhappy if Saudi will be part of the attack in Syria if it happened, but I hope it will not happen.
We can take days discussing the Middle East. However, our time is limited today. We promise we expand on the subject. This was Heat in the Middle East, and thanks my guest, Dr. Mamdouh Hamza.
Thank you very much, Mr. FATHI.
And we'll see you again on ICAST News, live and direct from the United Nations. This is your host, Ahmed FATHI.